You can sell this note anytime you want. If you ever assume that buying a mortgage note means you're locked in until the loan is paid off in 20, 25 or 30 years, I want to correct that right now, because it's the single biggest reason people who'd otherwise be a great fit for this never take the first step. A mortgage note is paper. It's a legal instrument backed by a first lien position on the property. And like any asset, it can be bought and it can be sold. You don't have to hold the note for the life of the loan. You can sell your position in it whenever you decide the timing is right. Here's the mechanics in plain terms. Say you buy a note with a balance of roughly 180,000, a real single-digit discount of face value, not a steep fire sale number. You start collecting the monthly payments as the lender. 6 months in, 2 years in, whenever, if your circumstances change, or if you just want the capital back, you can sell that note to another buyer on the same market that you bought it on. The new buyer steps into your position. You walk away with your capital plus whatever the market's pricing reflects at that moment. You're not waiting on a borrower to finish paying. You're finding a buyer for the paper. And that market exists right now, actively, for exactly this reason. There's a second version of this that gives you even more flexibility. Selling a partial. Instead of selling your whole position, you sell a slice of that future payment stream. Say the next several years of it, and keep the rest. You get a lump sum now, and you're still in a note for what's left. It's the same tool that landlords use when they sell an easement or a partial interest in a property. You don't have to give up the whole thing to access some of the value today. Most people never hear this because most beginner note education stops at buy and collect. That's not wrong. It's just incomplete. It's the equivalent of teaching someone to buy a rental and never mentioning they're allowed to sell it. The exit is part of the asset. It's just really part of the lesson. I want to be straight with you. Selling a note isn't instant, and it isn't free. There's a real market with real buyers, but pricing moves with rates, with the borrower's payment history, with the property. This is not a same-day withdrawal. It's closer to selling any other real asset. It takes a buyer, a process, and a price that reflects the moment. Any yield or return figure I mentioned is illustrative only, not a promise. And your advisor should weigh in before you treat any of this as a plan for your own money. So what actually sets the price when you go to sell? 3 things mainly. First is the rate on the note. A note paying a higher rate than what's available in the market today is worth more to a buyer than one that's paying a low rate. Second, the payment history. A borrower who's paid on time for 2 years is in a very different scale than a borrower of 6 months in with no track record yet. A clean history de-risks the note for the next buyer, and that shows up in the price. And third, the property and the equity behind it. A first lien position on a property with real equity cushion is worth more than a note that's thin on the collateral. Put those 3 together and the buyer arrives at a number. It won't always be exactly what you paid, plus a clean markup. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's less, depending on where rates and demand sit at that moment. That's not a flaw in the system. That's what it means to hold a real price asset instead of a fixed lock-up position. You have a lever to pull. You didn't have that with a rental or a CD. So let's make that concrete, illustratively. Say your 180,000 note is paying a rate a full point above what's available in the market today, and the borrower have made 18 months of on-time payments. That combination, above market rate, clean history, tends to support a stronger price, sometimes at or above what you originally paid. Now flip it. Same 180,000 balance, but the borrower 6 months in with one late payment on record. And rates have moved up since you bought. A buyer's going to price in that extra risk, and you're likely looking at a bigger discount to move in. Same note size, two very different outcomes. The point isn't to hand you a formula, it's to show you the lever exists. You can choose when you sell, and you can see roughly why the number lands where it does. That's not true of a house sitting on the market for 6 months with no clear read on price until an offer is finally showed up. For a tired landlord, you get first lien exposure to real estate without months on the market when you want out. For the frustrated saver, you get a real exit option that a CD or a savings account never gave you in the first place. And for the person watching the market and wanting something steadier, you get an asset with a defined structure, not a price that swings on the headlines. For the self-directed IRA investor, the flexibility lives inside the note itself, even while the account structure stays what it is. This is the part of note investing almost nobody walks you through. And if it's adding value, I genuinely appreciate you hitting subscribe and sharing it with someone who's been sitting on the fence about this. It means a lot to us and it helps us more than you think. If you want the whole picture, start to finish, that's the free 5 days Become the Bank Challenge. No cost, no obligation, the link is below. And if you're already sure that this is worth a real conversation, just book a call. No pitch, just a conversation about whether this fits what you're trying to do. You're not locked in, you're not stuck, you just won't show the whole picture yet. Now you have been.